Part 1. The Unseen Guest. In the quaint town of Willow's End, where the fog hugged the streets like an old, whispered secret, the abandoned house at the end of Crane Street stood as a silent sentinel. Its windows, like the eyes of a dead man, stared blankly at those who dared to pass by. Locals whispered tales of the ghastly horrors that lurked within, but none were as chilling as the story of the unseen guest. The legend began with the last occupant, Mrs. Elowen Finch, a reclusive widow known for her eccentricities and whispered conversations with empty chairs. Her sudden disappearance left the town buzzing with rumors of foul play, but no evidence was ever found. The house, they said, swallowed her whole, leaving behind only an eerie silence. Decades passed, and the house fell into decay, its once vibrant walls now peeling and rotten. Yet, the townsfolk noticed lights flickering in the dead of night, and soft, melancholic piano melodies drifting through the air, playing a haunting tune that resonated with the sorrow of a lost soul. Curiosity and fear mingled in the hearts of Willow's End until one fateful night, a group of thrill-seeking teenagers, armed with nothing but their bravado and flashlights, decided to uncover the truth. As they stepped into the creaking embrace of the house, the door shut behind them with a thud, snuffing out the moonlight. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of decay and old perfume, a stark contrast to the silent, oppressive darkness. The group's leader, Alex, guided them to the heart of the house, the grand living room, where a dusty piano sat. Its ivory keys, though untouched for years, gleamed under their flashlights. Suddenly, the piano played a single, sorrowful note, lingering in the air like a cry for help. The group froze, their hearts racing as cold dread crept up their spines. Then, the room temperature plummeted, their breaths visible in the air as they turned to see a figure at the piano, an ethereal woman dressed in a gown from another era, her back to them. Before they could react, the woman began to play, her melody weaving through the room, pulling at the edges of reality. The walls of the house groaned, and the air thickened, as if resonating with the pain and loneliness of the unseen guest. Alex stepped forward, his voice trembling. "Mrs. Finch?" The music stopped abruptly. The woman turned her head slowly, her face hidden in the shadows. A whisper filled the room. "You shouldn't have come here." Then, all light extinguished, plunging them into darkness as the unseen guest began her symphony of terror. In the heart of a forgotten village stood a decrepit mansion, its windows like blind eyes, its doors gaping like a mouth agape. Local legend whispered of the Whispering House, a place where shadows danced at the edge of sight, and the air hummed with unspoken secrets. Jenna, a writer drawn to the macabre, couldn't resist its call. She entered, her heart pounding, as the door creaked shut behind her, sealing her fate. Inside, the air was thick with dust, and the silence screamed. Jenna's flashlight beam quivered as she explored, revealing faded portraits that seemed to watch her, their eyes following her every move. She stumbled upon a room with walls lined with ancient books, their pages yellowed with age. In the center, a diary lay open, its ink fresh as if written moments ago. The The entries were dated over centuries, each one ending abruptly, with the next beginning in a different hand. The words whispered of an eternal presence in the house, bound to a curse that demanded a new keeper every generation. As night fell, the house groaned and sighed, like a living thing settling into slumber. Jenna heard faint whispers, not quite words, not quite wind, coaxing her deeper into the mansion's heart. She found herself in a grand ballroom, its chandeliers swaying gently, casting ghostly light. Figures materialized, spectral dancers twirling in an endless waltz, their faces hollow with longing. Jenna, caught in the spell, began to feel a pull, a connection forming, tethering her soul to the mansion. Outside, the villagers muttered, knowing the house had claimed another. But Jenna's story was far from over. The diary's last entry hinted at a hidden truth in the depths of the mansion, a secret that could break the cycle. But as Jenna delved deeper, the house revealed its true horror, not just a keeper of the dead, but a predator of the living. And now, it had set its sights on her, its whispers growing into roars in the shadows of her mind. The mansion's corridors twisted and turned, leading her to a door she'd not seen before, heavy with chains, cold to the touch. Behind it, she sensed not just answers, but the core of the curse itself. As she reached out, the chains rattled, as if alive, the door inching open, unleashing a darkness eager to escape. The darkness that spilled from the door was alive, a tangible void that seemed to swallow the light from Jenna's flashlight. She stepped forward, driven by a need to uncover the truth, her heart a prisoner to the house's malignant charm. The air around her thickened, whispers coalescing into voices, pleading, warning, cursing. The room beyond was a cathedral of shadows, its altar a mirror not reflecting the present, but the past, shimmering with an otherworldly glow. Jenna approached the mirror, its surface rippling like water under a gentle breeze. The voices crescendoed into a cacophony of desperation as she reached out, her reflection absent from the glass. Instead, scenes played out in its depths. The mansion in its infancy, a grand abode, its inhabitants blissfully unaware of the creeping curse. Then, darkness consuming its residents, their spirits ensnared, their lives fueling the house's growing hunger. The mirror revealed the origin of the curse, a pact made with a malevolent entity that promised eternal life in exchange for souls. The mansion's master, driven by fear of death, had sealed this agreement, binding his lineage and home to a cycle of sacrifice and despair. With each generation, the house grew stronger, its influence reaching beyond the physical realm. Its whispers now screams in the night. Jenna, her mind reeling from the revelations, realized she was not just a potential victim, but a chosen successor, selected to perpetuate the cycle. The house needed her not just for her life, but for her ability to lure others into its grasp. Desperate to break the chain, she searched the mirror's visions for a clue, a way to end the curse. Her reflection suddenly appeared, eyes hollow, a warning of what she might become. Behind her in the glass, the shadows stirred, forming into the figure of the mansion's original master, his gaze piercing through time. He whispered of a key, an object of immense power, hidden within the mansion, capable of unlocking the chains of the curse. Jenna turned from the mirror, her resolve hardening. She must find the key and destroy it, to free herself and the trapped souls. The house, sensing her intent, began to contort. Rooms shifting, stairs leading nowhere, trying to confuse and trap her. Jenna's journey through the mansion became a labyrinthine quest, each step forward a defiance of the curse, each whisper a call to surrender. As she navigated the ever-changing halls, the line between reality and nightmare blurred. The mansion seemed to breathe around her, walls pulsing, floors undulating, a living entity fighting to preserve its existence. Jenna pressed on, knowing that the heart of the house, where the key was hidden, was also the most dangerous, a place where the veil between worlds was thinnest and the darkness most potent. The darkness that spilled from the ancient door was not just absence of light, but a living, breathing void. It swirled around Jenna, whispering of ages past, of suffering and secrets buried deep within the mansion's heart. She felt it probing, testing, seeking entry into her mind, her soul. Yet, amidst the terror, a flicker of curiosity burned within her. She stepped forward, allowing the darkness to envelop her, guiding her through a labyrinth of memories, each more horrifying than the last. In this void, Jenna saw the mansion's history unfold like a sinister tapestry. She witnessed the original master of the house, a man with a cruel gaze and a heart full of malice, invoking forbidden rites to grant him eternal life. Each generation, the house would lure a new soul to become its keeper, binding them to its walls until their spirit was consumed, adding another layer to its haunted legacy. Jenna realized she was walking not just through the mansion, but through time itself, each step taking her deeper into its cursed past. The whispering grew louder, now clear voices pleading for release, for an end to the endless cycle of pain. She found herself standing before the master's private chamber, the epicenter of the curse, where no light dared to penetrate. Inside, the air was thick with power. The walls pulsated with a malevolent energy. At the room's center stood an altar, atop which lay a book bound in shadow, its pages alive with writhing text, recounting the mansion's sins. Jenna understood that this book was the key to the curse, the anchor holding the mansion to its damned existence. Compelled by forces she barely understood, Jenna reached out to the book. Her fingers brushed its cover, and the house shuddered, as if in pain, or perhaps anticipation. The spirits swirled faster, their voices crescendoing into a deafening roar. As she opened the book, a blinding light erupted, casting away the shadows. But this illumination was not the end, merely a new chapter. The light revealed hidden doorways, long sealed, leading to forgotten parts of the mansion, each holding a piece of the puzzle of its tormented past, and perhaps the key to its salvation. Jenna, now irrevocably intertwined with the mansion's fate, stepped through one of these doorways, her resolve as strong as the shadows were deep, venturing further into the unknown, where ancient secrets and horrors awaited. eager to be brought into the light. Through the newly revealed doorway, Jenna entered a corridor that seemed to defy the mansion's already twisted architecture, its walls etched with scenes of past tragedies, each more grotesque and sorrowful than the last. The air was heavy with the scent of decay, and the sounds of the mansion's heart, now a rhythmic, ominous beat, pulsed through the stone underfoot. As she progressed, the corridor narrowed, the oppressive atmosphere intensifying with every step. Whispers filled the air, not just from the mansion now, but from something else, something older and far more malevolent. Jenna realized that the mansion was not just a prison for lost souls, but also a guardian of something ancient and unspeakable, sealed away in its depths. The path led her to a vast underground chamber, lit by an eerie phosphorescent glow emanating from an unknown source. In the center, a massive, gnarled tree twisted skyward, its roots entangled with the very foundations of the mansion. Its bark was blackened and slick, pulsing with the same malevolent energy that flowed through the house. From within its hollow, a soft, seductive voice called out, offering answers, promising power, tempting Jenna closer. Compelled by an irresistible force, Jenna approached the tree. The voices of the house, now a cacophony of screams and pleas, merged with the tree's whispers, telling of a time before the mansion, before the land was cursed, when the tree was worshipped and feared. It was the source of the curse, the original sin from which all others sprang, its roots reaching far beyond the physical realm, into realms of nightmare and madness. Jenna, standing before this ancient entity, felt a connection, a terrifying realization that her fate was not just tied to the mansion, but to the tree itself, which had orchestrated events leading to this moment. As she touched the tree's bark, visions flooded her mind. The tree's awakening, the construction of the mansion around it as both a seal and a sanctuary, and the endless cycle of guardians, each feeding the tree's hunger for life and suffering. Now aware of the true horror, Jenna knew that destroying the mansion would not be enough. She must confront the tree, the heart of the darkness, to end the curse. As she delved into the tree's core, where the light dimmed and the air grew colder, Jenna prepared to face the ancient horror, to uncover secrets so terrifying they had been hidden away in the roots of the cursed tree, where the true horror of the mansion lay waiting, eager to reveal its darkest secrets and challenge her very sanity. Jenna's journey through the newly revealed corridors of the mansion felt like a descent into the bowels of the earth itself. Each step took her deeper into a world where the line between reality and nightmare blurred. The mansion seemed to be alive, breathing in rhythm with her own heart, its pulse quickening with each door she opened, each secret she uncovered. The passageways twisted in impossible ways, defying the laws of physics and reason. Rooms appeared where none should be, filled with relics of the mansion's dark past, artifacts imbued with malice, portraits whose eyes followed her, their gazes filled with sorrow and rage. Jenna felt the weight of their gazes, the silent accusations of 1,000 lost souls. She eventually stumbled upon a grand library, its shelves groaning under the weight of tomes bound in strange leathers, their titles etched in languages long forgotten. In the library's heart lay a massive globe, its surface a mosaic of the mansion and its ever-changing layout. As Jenna touched it, the globe spun wildly, stopping to reveal a hidden part of the estate, a garden that no one had set foot in for centuries, marked by a single pulsating point of light. Driven by an insatiable need to uncover the truth, Jenna navigated her way to the garden, each step echoing with the whispered promises of the mansion's hidden heart. The garden was a place out of time, shrouded in an eternal twilight. Its beauty was unnerving, filled with flowers that seemed to bleed darkness, and trees that whispered in a language of sorrow. In the center of this twilight garden stood an ancient tree, its branches gnarled and twisting towards the sky, cradling the moon in its boughs. Beneath this tree lay a grave, unmarked and forgotten, but fresh soil suggested it was recently disturbed. Jenna felt a pull towards the grave, an invisible thread tugging at her soul, drawing her to its depths. As she approached, the ground trembled, and the air grew thick with a power that throbbed in time with her heartbeat. The grave beckoned, promising answers and revealing glimpses of a truth too terrible to comprehend. A truth tied to the very essence of the mansion and the curse it harbored. Jenna, caught in the gravitational pull of the mansion's darkest secret, knelt by the grave, her hands trembling as she brushed away the loose earth, revealing the story, steeped in darkness and mystery, continues to weave its intricate web, drawing Jenna and those who dare to follow deeper into the abyss, where the line between the living and the dead, the hunter and the hunted, becomes ever more indistinct. As Jenna crossed the threshold into the newly revealed corridor, the air turned icy, her breath materializing in puffs of frost. The mansion seemed to breathe with her, each step echoing in the silence, amplifying her solitude. The corridor twisted unnaturally, as if defying the mansion's ancient architecture, leading her to doors veiled in cobwebs, whispering of untold stories behind them. She opened the first door, revealing a room shrouded in darkness, save for a single beam of moonlight illuminating a cradle. Approaching it, Jenna found an antique doll, its glass eyes staring with eerie life. The moment she touched it, the room filled with phantom cries of a child, the temperature plummeting further, as if the mansion relived a long-forgotten tragedy. Each room unveiled a different piece of the mansion's morbid tapestry, a grand dining hall set for a feast that never occurred, with ghostly echoes of laughter and screams, a library with books that whispered forbidden knowledge to those who dared listen, a conservatory where plants thrived unnaturally, fed by something more sinister than sunlight. Deep within the mansion, Jenna discovered a sealed chamber, its entrance marked with runes glowing faintly in the darkness. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of decay and old earth. In the center lay a sarcophagus, its lid adorned with the visage of the mansion's master, his expression twisted in a grimace of both agony and ecstasy. Jenna felt an invisible force drawing her to the sarcophagus, the whispers in her mind growing urgent, promising answers and begging for release. As she laid her hands on the cold stone, the sarcophagus began to tremble, the ground rumbling beneath her feet. The mansion's history played in her mind like a macabre film, revealing centuries of rituals, sacrifices, and the binding of something ancient and malevolent to the very stones of the building. The lid of the sarcophagus started to slide open, and a cold mist seeped out, swirling around Jenna, forming images of the past inhabitants, their faces contorted in fear and madness. She realized that the mansion was not just a home, but a prison, a binding site for a darkness so profound that it threatened to spill forth and consume all in its path. With the sarcophagus now ajar, the mansion's walls began to bleed shadows, the boundary between the material and the spectral worlds thinning. Jenna stood on the brink of a revelation, one that could either free the mansion from its eternal torment or doom her to become its next victim. As the mist thickened, she peered into the abyss within the sarcophagus, where something ancient stirred, ready to rise. The abyss within the sarcophagus stared back at Jenna, an eye of darkness that knew no bounds. She felt its gaze penetrate her soul, unearthing her deepest fears, offering them as tribute to the mansion's insatiable hunger. The ancient entity within, bound by chains of spectral energy, reached out to Jenna. Its whispers, now clear, articulate pleas of a tormented being, yearning for release or revenge. Around her, the mansion's reality twisted further, rooms and corridors reshaping themselves as if the building were a living, breathing creature. The entity's power seeped into the very fabric of the mansion, reawakening old spirits and calling forth shadows from the depths of time. Jenna navigated this shifting labyrinth, her resolve hardening with each step, driven by a need to uncover the truth and end the cycle of suffering. She came upon a grand hall, its walls lined with mirrors that reflected not her image, but scenes from the mansion's past. Opulent parties descending into chaos, secret meetings filled with plotting eyes, silent corridors suddenly echoing with screams. In each mirror, the shadows watched her, their eyes glowing with malevolent intelligence. In the heart of the hall stood a grand mirror, larger and more ornate than the others, its surface shimmering with an otherworldly light. Jenna approached, drawn by a force she could neither deny nor understand. The mirror did not reflect the past, but another place entirely, a realm where the mansion's roots lay entwined with the fate of the entity, a world of darkness and despair. As Jenna touched the mirror's surface, it rippled like liquid, and she was pulled through, the boundary between worlds dissolving. She found herself in a realm of shadows, where the mansion's true horror was laid bare. This was the source of the curse, a place where the entity's essence was strongest, and the mansion's architectural madness originated. Here, time and space were fluid, and Jenna witnessed the mansion's construction. Built upon a site sacred to ancient, forgotten gods, its foundations soaked in blood and betrayal. She saw the mansion's master, not just a man, but a puppet of the entity, twisted by its will, orchestrating centuries of horror to feed its hunger. The realm revealed the entity's true desire. Not freedom, but a union. A complete merging with the mansion and its inhabitants to break free of its earthly bonds and spread its darkness across the world. Jenna, now at the heart of this nightmare, stood as the last barrier against this cataclysm. As the entity's awareness of Jenna grew, it turned its full attention upon her, the shadows coalescing into a form both terrifying and mesmerizing. The boundary between Jenna and the entity blurred, their consciousnesses intertwining, battling for supremacy. Jenna, armed with knowledge and an unwavering spirit, prepared to confront the entity, to sever the cursed ties binding it to the mansion, a confrontation that could either save or damn her soul forever. In the shadow-drenched realm, Jenna faced the entity, its form a maelstrom of darkness, eyes like burning coals piercing her very essence. The mansion, now a mere extension of this being, pulsed around them, its structure moaning in agony and anticipation. Jenna felt the weight of centuries bearing down on her, the countless souls ensnared by the mansion's curse, fueling the entity's power. Despite the overwhelming dread, Jenna's resolve did not waver. She understood that she was not just fighting for her own survival, but for all those ensnared by the mansion's malevolent legacy. The entity, sensing her determination, unleashed torrents of shadow, attempting to drown her in despair and madness. But Jenna, guided by the flickering spirits of the past, dodged the dark onslaught, weaving through the sea of shadows like a beacon of defiance. She found herself in a chamber at the heart of the realm, where the veil between the physical and spectral worlds was thinnest. Here, the core of the entity's power manifested as a dark crystal, pulsating with an unholy light. It was the heart of the curse, the anchor tethering the entity to the mansion and the mortal world. Drawing on the combined strength and knowledge of the mansion's trapped souls, Jenna confronted the dark crystal. Whispers of the past guided her hands to the talismans and relics scattered around the chamber, each a key to weakening the entity's defenses. As she placed the relics in a precise pattern around the crystal, a ritual circle formed, glowing with ethereal light, countering the darkness with each symbol that ignited. The entity roared in fury, its form destabilizing, as the ritual circle siphoned its strength, redirecting it into the mansion's very foundations. The building shook violently, groaning as if in pain, the walls cracking, revealing glimpses of the real world beyond the shadowed realm. Jenna, standing firm within the circle, chanted the incantations whispered by the ghostly voices, binding the entity, pulling it towards the crystal's core. As the ritual neared its climax, the boundary between Jenna and the entity blurred even more, their memories and emotions intertwining. Jenna experienced the entity's ancient pain, its rage and its fear, understanding its existence in a way no one else ever had. This connection, while dangerous, allowed Jenna to find the entity's hidden weakness, a remnant of its once human soul, buried deep within its dark heart. With the final word of the incantation spoken, a blinding light erupted from the crystal, engulfing the chamber, the mansion, and the shadow realm. the entity's scream, a sound of both triumph and despair, echoed through the corridors as the light began to cleanse the darkness, severing the bonds of the curse. Jenna, her consciousness fading, saw the mansion's walls crumble in the light, revealing the dawn of a new day outside. The entity, now a mere shadow of its former self, faced Jenna one last time, its expression one of gratitude and sorrow, before dissolving into the light, releasing the souls it had bound for so long. As the light consumed everything, Jenna felt herself drifting, caught between the physical world and the realm beyond, her fate intertwined with the mansion's legacy, now crumbling under the weight of its own redemption. The future was uncertain, the balance delicate, and as the light faded, the mansion's final secret lay just beyond reach, hinting at a truth yet to be fully uncovered. In the realm of shadows, Jenna faced the entity, its form a swirling mass of darkness and malice. She felt its power, ancient and vast, a maelstrom of tortured souls and broken dreams. Yet within her, a spark of defiance glowed, fueled by the countless lives ensnared by the mansion's curse. Jenna understood now that the mansion, the entity, and she were entwined in a dance of fate and free will. She saw the chains of darkness that bound the entity to the mansion, chains that were also tethered to her own soul. With every heartbeat, Jenna felt the weight of centuries, the agony of imprisoned spirits crying out for release. Drawing on her inner strength and the knowledge gleaned from the mansion's past, Jenna channeled her will into a force of light, a beacon in the consuming darkness. The entity, sensing the threat, unleashed a torrent of shadows. But Jenna stood firm, her resolve a shield against the darkness. The battle raged, not just in that shadow realm, but within the very heart of the mansion. Walls trembled, floors cracked, and the air echoed with the clash of light and shadow. In the physical world, the mansion began to crumble, its once imposing structure succumbing to the force of their confrontation. Jenna, her spirit and will intertwined with the entity's darkness, found the nexus of their connection, the heart of the curse. With a final surge of desperate energy, she shattered the chains, breaking the ancient bonds that held the entity to the mansion, and freeing the trapped souls within. As the chains dissolved, a shock wave of energy erupted, the mansion's corrupted form disintegrating, its tortured spirits ascending in a cascade of light. The entity, its form destabilized, howled in rage and despair, its essence torn asunder and scattered to the winds, never to coalesce again. In the aftermath, where the mansion once stood, now lay only ruins, a silent testament to its dark legacy. Jenna, exhausted but triumphant, walked away from the rubble, the first rays of dawn casting long shadows behind her. She carried with her not just the memory of the ordeal, but the knowledge that she had ended the cycle of horror, freeing both the living and the dead from the mansion's grasp. Though the Whispering House was no more, its story lived on, a cautionary tale of ambition, sacrifice, and redemption. Jenna's courage had turned the tide. Her victory, a beacon in the darkness, a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming darkness, the human spirit could prevail. And while the shadows of the past may linger, the light of hope shines eternal, guiding the way through the darkest of nights. A story yet to be continued.